Hey guys, so I think I may have found literally the LARPiest thing possible. The new Constitution Party of Canada. Don't let that bland and reasonable sounding name fool you. This is like the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Apparently they kind of came to prominence, sort of, if you can call anything related to these guys prominence, in the last election where they were handing out flyers. I can't tell if this is a joke or not, if this is some kind of elaborate troll, if this is just like some meme they're trying to do. So their thing is this really poorly done photoshopped NCP, the Japanese imperial flag, and an Inukshuk. If you don't know what an Inukshuk is, it's kind of a statue of a man that the Inuit use. It looks a bit like a cross, but it's supposed to be a man and it's supposed to say "We've been here." It's kind of a statement of it's kind of like a marker. So we have the new Constitution Party of Canada. Of course, it's in French, and it's many founding peoples, one nation under God. So because it's a Canadian form of fascism, essentially, um, we have the multi. It's explicitly multiracial. So we have the various hand colors. We have the black one, the yellow one, the red one, the white one, the tan one. We have this guy, whoever the hell he is. He kind of looks like Julius Evola. We have birds, and we have a hand stabbing. The very a certain tribe looking hand with the symbol on it. So the new Constitution Party of Canada is an all-inclusive federal party based on libertarian doctrine, Christian values, and National Socialist ideology. Our political movement incorporates the intellect of Dr. Ron Paul, the heart of Chancellor Adolf Hitler, and the soul of Jesus Christ into one powerful chimera that will crush the Marxist beast. This is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. I do kind of like it. I mean, I gotta give these guys credit. They are actually trying to develop a Canadian version of fascism. Um, I kind of get where they're coming from. They're basically saying, look, guys, we kind of to a certain extent have to accept some form of diversity because it's just kind of the way Canada is. But we can pursue law and order. We can pursue kind of social conservatism. And we can try and make the country less like a less shitty form of ethnicism. Which, I mean, this is a vast improvement, and I gotta give these guys credit. Like I said, they're actually doing something creative, even if this is just larpy as fuck. Our basic tenet is that we are one nation under God, composed of founders of many races and religions. God grants us dominion over the earth, including all plants and animals on it. In exchange, we must be responsible stewards of God's project and unite to protect his creation from the dark satanic armies of Marxism. So literally Deus Vult. Not that I really disagree with most of what they're saying here, except for maybe the Libertarian and National Socialist part. We must work together to reverse the damage caused by cultural and economic Marxism. Sounds good to me. Thereby reverting to a fair and just society that is free of economic disparity caused by the nanny state and political correctness, which is a subtle form of mind control. Our approach to governance will place common sense and what is best for the majority of the Canadian people above the mandates of special interest groups. Therefore, we will implement a radical overhaul of our weak, outdated constitution geared towards unequivocally establishing the rights of Canadians to life, freedom, and a meaningful existence. When any members of the courts, military, police, or federal, provincial, municipal governments is sworn into office, they will be required to take an oath to uphold this new constitution and put it before any other laws. A detailed description can be found under the working platform. So we'll actually go look at it because it's at least interesting. I mean, this is like really kind of LARPing bizarre. So we have this guy. So I don't know, this guy's really weird looking. So he claims to be Greek. He kind of looks like he's half native, half uh, like white. So, okay. Oh, my mother's family were ethnic Greeks. Okay, let me see here. Who's his father? Okay, father was an. I don't know. He just doesn't. He looks like he's half Asian. He looks like he's half native. Because that would kind of make sense. That would explain kind of the multiracial thing. I mean, granted, natives actually have a right to be here. They are like Pakistanis or like some randies from Africa who come over here and claim that they have a right to Canada. They were here from the beginning. Let's see here. Uh, I am incorruptible, uncompromising, tenacious, fanatical, loyal, and unwavering in my devotion to the party's platform. My depth of knowledge across a broad range of topics combined with my linguistic mastery and public speaking abilities enable me to effortlessly articulate and communicate the party's platform in language that the majority of people can grasp and be inspired by. I am so knowledgeable that I need not rely upon written notes, instead delivering speeches spontaneously with the ability to adapt content and delivery style to my audience's minute-by-minute response. My debate skills are unrivaled. My mere presence in the proximity of an opponent will often turn them into a nervous wreck. So, yeah. What the hell? If my family was in Russia today, they would be loyal servants of the new protector of the Orthodox Church, Tsar Vladimir Putin. Like, he asked my mother to only speak English at home so that my siblings and I would easily assimilate into Canadian society. Let's see here. I'm a retired Canadian Armed Forces medical officer. A captain. Okay, that's actually a moderately high rank. And I'm also Canada's premier anti-Marxist. I have keen insight into the damage caused by the parasitic nature of Canada's Marxist occupied government. Where have we heard this one before? My mandate is to cleanse the body politic and our society of any of all remnants of Marxist ideology, so that Canada can once again be free from divisive Marxist social engineering and destructive Marxist economic planning. Marxist is often a synonym for something else, and I think we all know what that is, especially given this picture. Let's see here. Jesus Christ was the first and greatest libertarian? Let's see here. Jesus ultimately sacrificed his life for his libertarian ideals, being ritually sacrificed on the cross primarily because he drove the money-changing Pharisees out of the temple. The first high-profile protest of the 99% against the 1%. Unfortunately, the Pharisees are still around today, and they still control the banking industry. Pharisees. We mean that in a generic sense. Let's see here. We stand side by side as we repel the Marxist hordes. They may outnumber us at present, but their ranks are filled with cowards, eunuchs, and imbeciles, like the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae. Even though we are outnumbered, our strong resolve and unyielding determination will overwhelm, demoralize, and crush them, until they are swept into the dustbin of history, merely worthy of footnotes in a 22nd century textbook. So yeah, I don't get it. Is this a joke? Is this, because if this is a satire of kind of like edgy LARPy shit, this is actually a really good satire. So I don't really know. Let's see here. You have a right. Okay, so let's just go through their policy. We still have a fair amount of time. You have the right to life. The right to life begins at conception. Only God has the right to end life, with the exception of an individual having the right to end his or her life with dignity and without interference. Okay, so they're in favor of euthanasia. All right. The right to life extends beyond our borders, as we have no right to start politically motivated wars with other nations and murder their people. We only have the right to kill them. Okay, so let's see here. So some kind of vague Iraq War era talking points. Freedom. You have a right to do anything you want, provided you do not violate anyone else's rights in the process and do no harm to the earth, its flora, or its fauna. For example, if you want to go into the middle of the woods in the far north, fire a full automatic weapon in the air and scream out obscenities, you have the right to do so, so long as no person, animal, or property is hit with your rounds. However, you cannot hold a gay pride parade during which you are distributing dildo-shaped candy to children and men, or masturbating in public with children present. Even though both are criminal acts, Toronto police turned a blind eye to them. By doing so, you have violated the right of the children's guardian or caregiver to shield them from being exposed to sexual content before the age of majority, and that they have a reasonable expectation that such lewd criminal behavior will not take place in public. So I mean, it's like this is actually I find kind of interesting, because I mean, like, this guy, he's pretty weird and this is really LARPy, but like he actually has kind of some ideas here. Like I agree with that's actually like not bad really. I mean the NAP I disagree with the NAP, but a lot of this is not that bad. Specifically, government and corporations have conspired in fascist-like suppression of the truth when it comes to the North American Aboriginal Holocaust. I don't think they have. The transatlantic black and white, okay, slave holocausts. Is this supposed to be a joke? Is it supposed to be like oy vey? It's just like another Shoah? Orthodox Christian holocausts. Yes. It is disingenuous to financially support and promote a human rights museum that focuses solely on one group, and even that case presents widely exaggerated, bordering on grossly false propaganda about their plight. I wonder who this one group could be. He seems to take a lot of trouble about not mentioning this one group, and I can't really blame him for that, as that tends to get you shut down. So it appears that he's a Holocaust denier. I can't really tell. He's leaving it deliberately vague, probably because I'm pretty sure that's illegal in Canada. For the record, as I always say when talking about this, I actually don't deny that the Holocaust took place. Just from the information I've seen, I think it's pretty obvious that it did. Could the total number of people who died be slightly different? I don't really know. I find the whole issue kind of confusing. The numbers keep changing based on the context, because I've heard people say it's 6 million total. I've also heard, like, including gays, gypsies, and the disabled, I've heard people say it's 6 million Jews. I've heard people say it's 7 million. Back in the day, they used to say 2 million. I don't know. So I just accept that a genocide was conducted by the Nazi government against the Jewish people. The exact nature of it, I think, is kind of just up to historians to kind of determine. Like I said, I accept there's a genocide. I'm just confused because there's kind of conflicting narratives about the scale of it. Let's see here. You have a right to say no, provided doing so does not violate the rights of others. You can refuse medical treatment. You can refuse your children to school. You can refuse to have your children vaccinated. Now, that's actually something I disagree with. I think people have to be vaccinated because if these diseases start to take hold in people again, then they mutate, and then the vaccines don't work anymore. So, no, I don't think you have the right to refuse vaccination. Okay, you have the right to refuse to employ, work with, or associate someone based on all the normal things. Yeah, so you don't have to employ someone, even though the right of an individual to be intolerant and discriminatory will be protected. Government will be required to treat all citizens as equal, whether they are or not. Okay, so that seems pretty fair. I agree with that. Let's see here. However, if you own a Jewish school, good use of an example, and you do not want to employ non-Jews, then you have the right not to hire them because potential job applicants do not have an enshrined right to work for you. Well, that seems fair. You have the right to pursue happiness in whatever way you see fit. You have the right to practice your religion, provided it does not. Okay, so yeah, you have a right to drugs. You have the right to trade to trade in a currency that is stable and maintains its value. Inflation is created by the overprinting of money and is a form of theft. Inflation is a burden on those that are the least fortunate among us. Okay, so that's a reasonable thing to say. I agree. The Bank of Canada must be reined in and brought back to its original mandate, which includes lending money at 0% interest to all levels of government for the purpose of infrastructure projects. Okay, well, once again, that sounds pretty sane and kind of straightforward to me. I can't say I disagree with that. Infrastructure is always good. Low inflation is always good. You have the right to answer to a criminal code that is fair, equitable, and exists solely for the purpose of deterrent to real crime. We all make mistakes, and some of us make them more elaborately than others. Incarceration must be a last resort and reserved solely for crimes involving violence against people and animals, endangerment of life, deceit, theft, corruption, treason, etc., with the ultimate goal of only applying such punishment to those who are true sociopaths. I actually agree with that. I actually think punishment for a lot of crimes are too high. I mean, I guess I kind of have a mixed feeling about this. I mean, I think crimes that are really sociopathic are things like breaking into people's houses or cars. I kind of regard that as more antisocial than getting into a bar fight and accidentally killing someone. Like, I know someone's dead one way, but I can more see, like, I don't know, I guess things that are done kind of in the heat of the moment are hot-blooded. I don't think you really are a sociopath when you do. Also, people who just kind of impulsively do things, I don't think are as bad as, like, people who do things in cold blood. So yeah, I kind of agree with them. Eliminate the social stigma of possessing a criminal record. For every one person who has a criminal record, there are likely dozens of people who have committed the exact same crime and were not caught. Either the crime was not reported or they were able to cover their tracks. Also, we must differentiate between those who temporarily fell into a bad crowd due to socioeconomic factors and those who are sociopaths and cannot be rehabilitated. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, that all sounds pretty good. You must differentiate between real and normal male courtship behavior, no matter how vulgar and aggressive it appears to femme and Marxist agitators who do not speak for the majority of women. Once again, I mean, that sounds like a pretty fair justice system. I do support the death penalty. I guess over time, I'm increasingly wondering if we shouldn't bring it in for, like, I don't know. Sometimes, some days I have sympathy for Islam's policy of cutting off the hands of people who steal. I think particularly in the case of, like, people who like break into people's cars, etc. I kind of feel that they should be caned in public or just had the crap beat out of them. Because I think there needs to be more stigma and shame towards that kind of behavior. Let's see here. You have a right to know that the government works in the best interests of people. It does not base its foreign or domestic policy on the interests of foreign governments or lobbies representing special interest groups. I wonder who those are. Specifically, Canada has kowtowed the Zionist lobby for far too long, sending our children to die in far-off wars not for our own security, but for the imperialist interests of the illegitimate state of Israel. I don't really know what wars he's referring to. Is he referring to Afghanistan? Because that really wasn't about Israel. That was about taking down Al-Qaeda after 9/11. I mean, Iraq was for Israel, but we weren't involved in Iraq, so I don't know what he's talking about. Any members of government or the military who violates the people's right to loyalty from their officers will be guilty of treason and subject to the harshest punishment under the law, including life in prison, revocation of citizenship, and seizure of all assets to financially compensate the families of their victims, such as the children of dead soldiers. Once again, that sounds pretty good. I do think a lot of our political class are politicians, and they should be put in jail and have their citizenship and assets seized. Then again, I guess the only problem with assets is I kind of think like some of that money should be left to their children if they have them. Let's see here. The government cannot subject you to cruel and unusual punishments, including excessive fines or prison terms for minor offenses. I don't know, that seems pretty good to me. You have a right to be healthy. You have the right to be provided with free government-funded health care, including free chiropractic and dental care and prescription drugs. In order to improve efficiency, health insurance should be managed federally. I agree with that, actually. In order to alleviate regional staffing shortages, licenses for health providers should be valid Canada-wide and be portable. Yeah, that sounds perfectly reasonable to me. That would solve a lot of problems. Let's see here. Charging a nominal deductible fee of $5 per patient would discourage abuse of the system, thereby bringing healthcare costs down dramatically. As a physician, our party leader has confirmed that at least 75% of visits to general practitioners are grossly unjustified. So a small user fee would healthcare costs, waiting times. Once again, like this guy is at least, even if he's kind of a randy, that's like an interesting idea. That is a policy that we could like test out. That sounds reasonable and has sound arguing for it. Which is kind of why I'm not sure if this is a troll or not. Because if this is a troll, I kind of feel like he wouldn't have such kind of interesting ideas. You have the right to be considered an adult at the age of 16. The educational system will be geared towards young people, preparing young people for adulthood, including mandatory courses starting at the age of 14, which outline your responsibilities as an adult. That seems pretty good for me. Furthermore, we should create a uniquely Canadian coming-of-age ritual to celebrate having reached the age of majority, which will be deemed a first-grade milestone in life. The ritual will be formed on a group basis, involving an elaborate televised ceremony. I mean, that seems pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty common thing throughout history. You have bar mitzvahs. I forget what it's called in Hispanic cultures. That's fairly common throughout the world, so that's not that weird. You have a right to live in an environment that is free from pollution and ecosystem destruction. All programs related to man-made global warming and CO2 emissions are disingenuous New World Order ruses. Okay, well, I agree with that. I'm all for protecting the environment. I just think CO2 is bullshit. I think we could do more to protect the environment, and I do support a lot of things we are doing to protect the environment. Just CO2 is just bullshit. Alternative... okay, furthermore, safe thorium-based nuclear reactor technology. Once again, kind of a buzzword, but I agree we should pursue thorium technology. From what I've read about it, it's safe, clean, and cheap. Which is being suppressed by the uranium industry will be strongly considered. Animal rights. All of God's creatures have the right to live a dignified life without unnecessary human cause, suffering, or interference. Okay, I don't really agree with banning zoos. I mean, it kind of depends on the zoo. I mean, there's cruel zoos, but like the Toronto Zoo is pretty nice. The animals have big enclosures. They get fed regularly. They get exercise. They don't really seem unhappy. I've seen some zoos where the animals look pretty depressed. Let's see here. Okay, people have the right to be born. I agree. You have the right to drop out of society and disappear. Citizenship. Privacy. You have the right to privacy and to be anonymous. Okay. The government has no right to spy on you unless there's reasonable grounds that you've committed or are about to commit a crime. Okay, well, that seems good to me. You have the right not to have yourself or your property searched or surveyed without due cause. Yep, makes sense to me. You have the right to be free from unnecessary or undue laws which hinder your business. Okay, well, that seems pretty good. All government subsidies for post-secondary education will cease. That will drive the cost of tuition down, as colleges and universities will have to cost compete for students. Students will qualify for basic income and may use that income to pay for tuition or student housing. Also means students will have zero debt when they graduate. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's see here. State property tax. Income tax must be destroyed. Lost income can be made by increasing sales tax. Okay. Basic income. You have the right to be able to afford your basic needs without being required to work. Society is heavily automated, therefore we must let go of the notion that everyone must work. Sadly, instead of working to live, we now live to work. And not being able to work carries with it a social stigma. Let's see here. Basic income sufficient to cover the essentials like food and shared accommodation. This basic income will also replace social assistance, government disability pensions, employment insurance, old age security, etc. We will eliminate the need for a minimum wage. I don't know. That seems pretty good to me. I actually kind of agree with that. Let's see here. If you are under the age of 65 and not disabled, will be required to perform community service within a short distance of your home in exchange for receiving your basic income. The need for such public service will increase dramatically as the criminal conviction rate plummets from the mass decriminalization of previously criminal activities such as drug distribution and possession. You have the absolute right to free speech. Hate speech laws should be withdrawn. You have the right to peacefully protest. You have the right to keep and bear arms. He supports homosexual and polygamous marriage, which is really weird. Fair trial, demographic stability. Okay, I'm almost done. You have the right to live in a demographically stable society that is not eroded by excess. I like that term actually, a demographically stable society, or by immigration of people from countries who do not share our values. Immigration laws will favor people from countries with similar language, culture, and values as us. The government will strictly enforce borders and hear immigration cases rapidly, deporting those who are rejected in an expeditious manner. Canada's open border policy, which encourages immigration from nations that are diametrically opposed for culture, religion, and values, is out of the Soviet Marxist playbook. So that sounds not bad to me. Let's see here. You will be qualified to sit on a jury, be a senator, etc. So juries will only compose of seniors. That's an interesting idea. Like I said, you have a right to instill your children in the true Canadian culture and mythology that have been decimated by cultural Marxism. We must rebuild our culture from the ground up with the eventual goal of having it re-enter the collective consciousness. By combining Aboriginal and European myths, legends, and cultural references, we will create a unique Canadian identity based on hundreds of years of history which date back well before Confederation. So overall, this is kind of interesting because his policy positions actually make a lot of sense. It kind of sounds like, to a large extent, he kind of went through libertarian and alt-right circles and just took a bunch of buzzwords and a bunch of policies from them and kind of assembled them. Most of it is pretty solid. Most of it he actually explains pretty well in pretty clear language. I don't think his policy program is really that bad. I mean, there's a couple kind of social issues I disagree with him on. But overall, I think this would be a huge, huge improvement on what we have. Even if this guy is a LARPer and he's just kind of countercycling and trying to be edgy as fuck. This description of himself is literally like seems like some sort of parody of what the alt-right thinks. Let's see here. Does he say? Let's see. Does he believe 9/11 was an inside job? Oh, government propaganda. Okay, so it didn't happen. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's just really, really weird. And LARPy, and really kind of NCP youth. The Freedom Camp. Your duties will include caring for and assisting the founding elders and distributing propaganda for your party. Sons of Freedom, Legion of Disruption, founding elders, the inner circle. So this is an attempt to create a Canadian brand of fascism, I guess. This guy's interesting. He has interesting ideas. I don't really take this that seriously, but it's kind of fun. It's fun to LARP. So that's my thoughts on the matter. This is Argent Templar signing out.